This is Strategy, Vision, Change, Part 2. The fourth element in the domain for strategic leadership is alignment and implementation for change. Let's talk a little bit about change. I'm sure you know by now that if an organization does not change, it will perish. Things just don't stay the same. This material comes from Daft, but it is based on a work by John Kotter. Here are changes that are going on in the world around us, and particularly the business world. Globalization, technological change, the sophistication of e-business now, increased competition, changing markets, those are always there. Opportunities and threats are out in the environment. In terms of threats, more domestic competition, increased speed to get things to market, and of course international competition. With that switch to international competition, though, we have bigger markets. Legislation has brought down some barriers, trade barriers, and we streamlined things. Other kinds of things going on in organizations, we call these large-scale change. Reengineering, horizontal organizing, usually meaning reframing work in a team mode. Networks, quality programs, mergers, virtual global teams, cultural changes, the adoption of the notion of learning organizations. These all have an impact in terms of strategy formulation and then action planning based on those strategies. Here's an 8-stage model, again based on John Kotter's work, on how to implement organizational change. Number 1, establish a sense of urgency. People need to feel that the change really needs to happen. Number 2, form a guiding coalition, people to collaborate with that have some type of influence or power in the organization. Number 3, develop a compelling vision and strategy, which we just talked about. Number 4, communicate that vision. People need to understand it, and again, remember, a vision is something that people are drawn to. Number 5 is once the employees are drawn to that vision, allow them to act on the vision. You do this by number 6, generating some short-term wins. People feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of success. They're ready for the next step. Number 7, consolidate your gains to create greater change. All those short-term wins adding up creates a wave of change that then drives through the organization. The last step, institutionalize changes in the organizational culture, is probably one of the more difficult. This is follow-through. This is the mundane. People think it's already done, but it needs to be institutionalized in terms of policy, procedure, decision-making processes, a way to keep the change in place without backtracking and going back to the way that things were done before you did the change. A champion sees this through all the way to the institutionalization of the change in the organization. This is a little graphic that explains strategies for everyday change. I kind of like it because it says, you know, you can change in private. You can change by yourself, just working alone. And then there's the public area of change where you have to work with others. Disruptive self-expression, verbal jujitsu, variable term opportunism, and strategic alliance building are all strategies to induce change. Disruptive self-expression is really modeling what you want to have changed, doing it yourself so others see it. In the verbal jujitsu, you turn an opponent's negative attitudes or behaviors into opportunities for change so that others in the organization will notice. Variable term opportunism is a more public approach. Here you'd lead a team or a division in the organization. Others will notice, asking for maybe guidance in implementing that in their own areas. And then you have the strategic alliance building. That's where you will work closely with others and move those issues to the forefront. This is a good way to do things quickly within an organization, building the alliance of people with influence and people with power within the organization. That always helps. Here's a slide that explains those if you want to take notes on that. You can stop the slide and then you can copy it down in your notes if you'd like to. After this, you can go on to part 3 of this lecture, and see you there.